I'm that girl who wants to talk to you about sacrums. And if you're like Erin and have misread the word and you think I'm talking about scrotums, this may not be your video. So I want to introduce you all to your bone systems, and for you to understand how releasing the pressure from your sacrum can give you so much joy and flexibility and freedom and relief of pain. This is the pressure that is caused from your hips onto your sacrum can cause all sorts of fantastic issues. Sciatica is one of those classic examples of that. So many people go to lots of healers and different types of modalities to be able to release this. And what I am wanting to tell you today is you can do it for yourself, and it is fantastic. So my knowledge about the bones is that the sacrum is one of the very first bones that is formed and created while we're in the womb, and it's it's the focal point. And so while we have our emotional balance, and that's our senses, our emotions are all contained within our physical body. And if our physical body is out of an alignment, we will have to form and merge into that emotionally. So there's a lot going on there. It's one of my favorite subject matters after metaphysics. And so I really want to be able to help assist. I love doing this in sessions because I ask the subconscious, can you please release any density in any heavy pressurized bones within my client's body, because I want their skeletal systems balanced and aligned. And they will do magic with that. They will do all of their amazing things. And I usually, when I ask them where is the most heaviest bone for density in my client's body, the subconscious will tell me exactly where that is, and I will ask, well, what's happening there, because it's an impact. And your bones, when they get impacted, they can be made unconscious and not pick up their workload. And when you have a whole lot of unconscious bones, your body then has to start moving its body with different counterweights, and your center point and your alignment will be off focus. And it starts off small, but as you get older and that density will just grow and grow and grow, it becomes more prevalent, more exaggerated, and more of a problem. And so when I was doing this contact care work, we were realizing that the adults were holding on to injuries in their bodies, these still bones that aren't working and aren't picking up their slack. All of the other tendons and tissues and other muscles are trying to work as a bone. And then you get these bigger impact sites where then the organs are starting to be used as bones, and it can really wear and tear the organs quite a lot. And so I had a whole lot of my own bone, like it's called flinch locks. And so you have a flinch and then the bone locks out and it gets taken offline, it becomes unconscious. And so when it does that, it stops doing things like producing the blood red cells and a whole lot of other stuff. So it's really fascinating, and this is what I worked on intensively for sort of 2 years, and I had so many of my major own relief, my own flinch locks released, that then I could start, I could get out of that flight and fear and fright. So when you have a physical impact in the front, it triggers your emotional stability, where you think that something's going to get you. But you're emotionally afraid of it. And so when you get triggered, when you get hit, impacted in the back, then your skeleton, it gets into shock. And so there's so much to it. I find it really fascinating. There's a book about it from the man who sort of discovered it because he was noticing it on animals. And I mean, that book always brings me to tears because of his success stories and what he's seen, especially with horses when he originally started, where a lot of horses may have got a little bit stuck during birth, and so they weren't able to walk or do certain things. And so the vets and the breeders would either sort of destroy the animal or something else. And so he started finding this way to support the bone and unlock it from its frozen flinch to then be able to make it go back into its alignment and start working again. The whole thing was amazing, and I had quite a few impacts from falling off things as a child, and it put my body into a sense of fear. So while we may try our hardest to have the best mindsets to be in balance and neutral, if our own physical bodies are in panic, sometimes we need more support with it. So anyway, I love this work, and this is another thing that the subconscious can do. And once I realized that these sessions are so profound because I can do so much in that time with my clients versus, say, one contact care session where I could only address one impact. And those impacts could be from other lifetimes that are still merging in. So the whole thing's fantastic, and I love it, and I love exploring it. So sorry for the epic mansplain, but there is so much more about our bodies that we're not really being told by other people who claim that they know lots about the body. So hugely fun. But now that I've got brave and now I can show you how to release it yourselves, this feels really inspiring. And it was the lovely Erin telling me about her hip pain and her tailbone pain that I just thought, oh gosh, how can I help her? And I asked her, have you released the pressure of your sacrum? And of course, that's when she misread it. What's on your mind, Erin? Anyway, we can all have a giggle about that. So I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. He's got really bad self-talk. He says he's a nobody and he's got no guts. So let's see if we can support him with that. Stop hating yourself, my friend. You are fantastic. So unfortunately, he's been attacked by my children, which is fine because I support people who don't run. And so, he's all good. So anyway, nothing fantastically new. You've all probably got a sense of what the body looks like, but this is what the sacrum is. And so it's right here. And as you can see, because it's had to be, it's a cheap cast resin skeleton, but it is not fused into the hips at all. We think that the whole hip section is, but it's not. This is one hip, the sacrum, and then the next. And if I can zoom up, maybe you can just sort of see how it's super tight fitting in there. And so when we fall on our bottoms, when we have impacts, I'm just gonna put him here, living his best life. I just washed him because he was a bit dirty. I wanted him to be camera ready, so he's a bit shiny. Anyway, and leaking everywhere. So the sacrum is the size of our palm of our hands. And so I'll tell you how to do your partner and your children, everyone needs to have their sacrum released. It is painless to do it, but you feel profound flexibility and movement in the sacrum area. So your hips will start feeling like you may want to start looking at doing marathons. I don't know, but you will notice a difference. So what I encourage people to do before you actually start this is see your natural now flexibility. What's your range of movement? Can you touch your toes? Sort of really just pay true attention to that range of movement for a bit of time. Just really focus on it, because when you then do this release, it will be an instant release, and then I want you to recheck your range, and you will notice a difference, and it's your new range because you've released potentially your entire life's full of pressure on this. And so it's so tight. If you've had children, you have put so much pressure on your hips. If you've fallen over, if you've slipped, all of this stuff, all of that pressure is placed on there, and in that bone density, it doesn't seem to just kind of like be released. It kind of just hardens. The whole thing is very fascinating. So first of all, I'll talk about, so these points here I want you to all feel them. It's the top of your hips. So when we actually feel around, we can actually feel these and identify with them ourselves, which kind of can be weird for some people to, you know, feel for their bones. But when we get a sense of what they look like and we understand the shape and the movement, they actually are our good friends. So this part here and this part here is what we support. And so it's going to give you a little bit of time to get used to looking at them and feeling them. And so if you're trying to locate them, I remember when I was super chunky fat and loved it, living my best life, I couldn't feel the bones as such. It was just a big fat roly-poly muffin top. So when and I've also had some clients as well that were you know, pregnant. You don't want to sort of be poking around too much because you're just wanting to work on the bone, and that's all. And so I would always try to locate where it would be from the front. And so it's usually their belly button is kind of around here. So you just sort of want to support their bumps. If you're too low, you won't feel the bump. So try to have a, definitely recommend Googling, definitely recommending giving yourself a good feel to find these pressure points. So I'll have to put down the model, but you are fantastic. Don't go changing. Okay, so with those 2 points of the hips, so when the person, so your partner or child is just laying flat and just really relaxed, and you just ask them to pop their bum up, so you just put your hand underneath and find those 2 points of their hips. And so you're just placing 1 point on this part of the palm. So you're not pushing or pulling or doing anything, you're just supporting the hips. And then with your tips, you're just finding the ridges for those 2 points that I was showing you on the hips. And so you're just holding your hand there. So I ask them to lift up. I just slip my hand under. Sometimes you might want a blanket or something. And then you just let them relax and rest, and they'll often say, oh gosh, I'm so heavy. And we say, we're not lifting you, we're just supporting you just for that region. And so it's very manageable because we're not trying to do anything, we're just supporting them. And this is fantastic. The whole contact care premise is just supporting bones to be able to allow the pressure to be released. So basically we're holding let's just say my sacrum is here, because remember the sacrum is the size of this palm. So look, if you're trying to get a gauge of the size of someone else's sacrum, just see their hand palm and get a sense of it, because it really is that, and it's kind of square on-ish, kind of whatever. So we're going to just be asking them to sit up. We slip our hands in, then they just rest, and then we just support them. We can feel a little bit of pressure. We will know if it's the right place because they will feel really uncomfortable quite quickly. So we just ask them to just move a little bit into fine tune, into adjustment, and just hold it here. You will know when it is working because you will physically feel the dropping of the sacrum. It gets quite addictive, I have to say, because it feels so good to be like, whoa, I can feel the presence of it just drops. And so sometimes I try to sort of, instead of just like holding the hips, I try to sort of like, make sure I've got the right placement of it and I've got the hips. And then I try to like not push apart, but just kind of like see if I can just add a little bit more stretchability to it. And so sometimes I have to try it on both sides because sometimes they can be so jammed, wedged in that you can only sort of do one side at a time. So just go slowly, just go gently. We're not trying to harm or hurt them at all. And that's the whole thing about contact here. We work away from the pain, and so we're just supporting and holding, and sometimes it can take, if I've never ever had this before, it can take a minute or so for the support and for that pressure to be able to be released. And sometimes they hold their breath, sometimes we hold our breath, so we're relaxing into it, we're breathing, and we're just simply supporting these two hips to just spread a little bit apart or just be held, so the sacrum can just relax. Because sometimes the sacrum gets so pushed up, it pushes on all of the nerves. And so when we're supporting the hips, it just relaxes a little bit, and then the sacrum can go into its true place. And so you can feel it coming down. Sometimes it can just drop and you're like, whoa, it's really there. I'm feeling like I'm literally just holding your sacrum. And other times you just feel it creaking and slowly coming. And that is fine. It's very exciting. It really is, because honestly, you just feel so free. Physically, you feel so free. And it is truly incredible. Again, this is from my experience as a bone practitioner in this field, and I love it. I love it because you get that instant physical relief, and then so you can then practice on each other, and this is a really beautiful thing to do for each other. But then if you aren't living with someone, or you don't want someone to feel up your bones, you can do it yourself. And this is how I do it. I put my fists like this, and then I lay on my fists. So I lift up my own butt and I lay on them, and I just kind of support the hip sides with this soft part. I don't want bone on bone, that can be painful. So I just kind of support the two bumping ridges on the backs of my hips where I showed you before. And so having that, it's not very helpful because he's a miniature little buddy, but just supporting this ridge here, and then you can kind of see that my thumb knuckle, probably can't, my thumb knuckle will kind of just support and wedge out the hip. And so again, highly recommend you find your flexibility, move your body around as much as you can to sort of see your range, then lay on your back, lift your bum up, plop yourself down on these two soft parts. Unfortunately, when you do it for yourself, because you can't hold your sacrum, you don't feel it dropping. But when you slowly take off your hands, and when you're doing someone else and you've got that cup, when you release them, then you ask them to you either try and slip it out, and so then they can just feel this new space. For the very first time, you don't realize that your back's really quite curvy, and then when you've released it, you feel so deep in that bed. You almost feel like you could touch the floor. It's quite a surreal feeling. It's very, very cool. And again, quite addictive when you're doing it with your friends. And this is what everyone needs to do to help each other. It's fun, it's not too pervy, and the range and scope is super easy. And when you can release the tension and the pain, especially with the sciatica or the hip nerve, and remembering everything's connected in our bodies. So when we have a hip that's out, then we will have the ankles that are out, then we'll have the back that's out, everything. When you have one part of your body that's out, the whole thing gets impacted and strained and stressed. So just being able to have some self-management care with your physical body, and not having to rely on, say, chiropractors and osteopaths. I mean, they will, they've got a place in the world, that's for sure. But when I have discovered the bone therapy from Contact Care, you have to support each bone and release it. And it's not a clicking, it is holding it and sort of like unshocking it. So whatever the angle and the impact of it to be flinch locked, to be shocked, needs to be supported and sort of like unwound, and then it can be released naturally. So we're not forcing the bones, we're just lovingly supporting the bone and guiding it. And it's extraordinary. It is so extraordinary, that whole world. So I'm super passionate about it. So sorry, I'll try to wrap it up now. But please just go in and see what you can do with your sacrum. And I would love to hear how it goes for you, because I feel like sometimes I get back pain myself and I just think, oh, what is it? And then I just think, oh, I'll just do my sacrum releasing, and it's just there. It's just tension in there. I sat funny, and it just causes that ripple effect. Anyway, I hope this helps those people, and have a go, and definitely would be really lovely to support other people by just doing that and just seeing what I mean. When you feel that sacrum dropping, it's so good. But that's just me. Anyway, have a fantastic day, and much love to your sacrums.